Hi everybody, my name is Max Maker and this week I want to build a water supply station on top of this water tank in the garden. So far there's this 12mm steel plate on there, and in there there's a pump and the faucet is next to it and it's not practical at all. So I want to build something better. I definitely want to get rid of this because the hose is sticking out, there's always murky water, the lawnmower it can't cut this grass, I always have to cut it manually, and the granite also doesn't match any of the brickwork here. So I want to make something better, more functional and made out of steel. And the other thing is that this hose needs a home, otherwise the lawnmower gets it. I want to store it somewhere right near the faucet. We want to have some power in there, of course, so for that I've got this socket and light switch combination. We're going to put this somewhere around here, a little bit up from the ground so the rainwater doesn't splash to it. It's rated for the garden anyway, so it should be fine, but we're going to build a little bit of a roof around here made from the same steel that this tube is made out of. And then of course we need a water faucet, so that goes somewhere here on top so we can easily reach it. I don't really like this design. It's a little bit difficult sometimes to turn it on and off. I want something simpler and something bigger, because if you look at the size of the nozzle, this is much bigger. This is like a combination of all kinds of different brass elbows I got from some website. I've got a ball valve here, and that will all go inside of the tube and only this ring will stick out. And the cross section is just huge, so we can use one of these big professional adapters here that goes on there. So this has a 19mm hole versus this one is just 9mm, so it's half size, but that's not half the area, it's more because it's of the squared thing. Anyway, we want a bigger hose on here, so let's get that into this piece of steel right now. So the first task, get this in here, and it's really big as you can see. So to do that you could use a big drill, but I don't have any drill of this size. There are some hole drills, but I don't like them because they're really awkward to use. I got something new that I would like to try out. Somehow over the last 2 years my workshop tended to gravitate a lot more to metalworking. I just find it more enjoyable to work with this stuff. I don't need to care so much about waterproofing and finishing, and you don't have to sand it very often, so I like this a lot. And this is one of these hole punches. Normally you use them for like electrical work to make cutouts in electrical boxes, so sheet metal, but it also works on this 2mm steel. You just need an impact driver to turn it. You can't turn it even a little bit with a normal spanner. And you get a perfectly nice hole. It just was a little bit too big, and the cutoff is in the inside, so you get a free washer with that. I know there are a lot of specialty tools in this video, but you know, I have them, so I might as well use them. My channel is about improving, and so is the workshop, of course. That worked surprisingly easy. Now the only problem is that this can flex around, so we need to stop this motion right here. And for that I can use this fanciest tool there is. It's a rib nut setter. It's all automatic, more about it later, but it basically just pushes a thread in there in an instant. It's so quick, it's so fast, it's really amazing to work with. And I use it here just to put a screw in there, and the screw pushes on the fitting so it doesn't wobble anymore. Let's go on to making a little end cap for this, like a post cap. And I'm using 1mm steel for that, because I had the right size lying around basically. Did some marking on it. I drilled the holes in advance. It's always best to drill these holes before you bend anything. And to cut out the corners, I'm always using a jigsaw that makes the best cuts, but for aluminium you can just use a wood bandsaw, of course. I run it over the edges a little bit, and you know, I have the sheet metal press, so I use it, of course. It's a great tool, it's fun to work with, and it's really simple to make stuff like this. Sheets, pans, anything with some small bends. You can't do huge bends. There we go, perfect end cap. I just need to clean it off a little bit for paint, because this stuff I can't just let it rust, it will rust through, it's too thin for that. So I used my DIY tumbler, and that works perfectly fine, especially for something like that. I'm really happy I built this a year ago. You keep it in here for maybe 15 minutes and it gives you a perfectly smooth finish, ready for paint. But I soon realized that I totally forgot to add some drainage slope to this. I wanted more something like a pyramid shape. And I thought maybe this could work. I made a die out of plywood, put it on top of the steel post, gave it a really good whack with a huge hammer, and to my surprise it totally worked. I got a really nice pyramid, the water can drain off, and it won't form any puddles on top. You can also whack a socket into the middle. Anyway, let's move on with the electrics. And this will be the perfect rain roof, so the water coming from here cannot flow behind the socket. And I admit it seems a little bit strange to mix electricity with water, but we have electricity in there already from the water pump. And it's not very different from what I have in the bathroom. We have a circuit breaker, we have a faucet, and we have sockets right next to it. So I think this should be fine. So I tacked on the rain roof, and I've been welding for about a year, and it's really a lot of fun, I have to say. So to mount these sockets to the steel, I'm using some more riv nuts from the Zipa. And the cool thing is that I've got a new tool from them. This was my manual rivet setter. It works fine, but I've got something much better. It's the Firebird Pro, and this sets riv nuts all in one go automatically. It drills them on, it sets them, and it drills them off again. It's insanely fast, and I got this for work, so I'm setting a few hundreds of these every month, so it's worth getting one. So to set the riv nut, all you need to do is drill the right hole size, so select the right drill the holes, and the rest does the Firebird Pro basically. You just have to enter the right settings to get the right pressure on there, because this is not dependent on the stroke or the thickness of the material, it's all about the clamping pressure. So you just enter the right value with the dial here, and it does the rest for you. It's really convenient. You put a nut on there, drill it on, then you press it a second time and it pulls it tight. Super easy, convenient, clean. This is like, I guess, how cars are built at the big factory. It's just super efficient. And this is the CAS battery. So that stands for Cordless Alliance System. The cool thing is, all kinds of tool manufacturers can use the same battery. Okay, so we're done with the electrical stuff. That's pretty much prepared. Now we can add this hose reel. It's just a bar that we can wrap the hose around later on. And this will be welded on. And for the settings, yeah, it's always a bit difficult. For thicker stuff, I use a little bit more current. I just see how it goes. If it's too slow, I just add more current. It's pretty easy to select. And here's something funny happened. While I was tacking it on, suddenly afterwards, there was a big gap on the top. And I wondered, like, how did that happen? And if you see here again in slow motion, you can see it lift up just from the tacks alone. Incredible what's happening there with the thermal expansion. So I ground off the welds again, just the tacks, and I clamped it down and redid it, and then it was fine. And welding, it's so much fun. It's really easy. Like with screws, you always have to fiddle around with so much stuff, but with welding, it's like using a hot glue gun, basically. Time to cut a hole in here to get the pipes through, and it's really important to have the right safety equipment. You need a face shield if you're going to use one of these discs. They can break. If they end up in your eye, it's really going to hurt. Wear a respirator, because these become a really fine dust. You don't want it in your lungs. If you don't wear one of these, some of this will end up in your lungs. Nobody wants that. And of course some gloves and hearing protection. Check out all this dirt. This would have been in my lungs, and this thing used to be white. You can see there at the corners. Then I carried everything down in the workshop again and just tacked on the corners, because there isn't a lot of load on this. I mean, if you really pull on this, it would just tip over. And then I could put all the cables in, and the pipes, of course. Really well made sure that these are all waterproof. And in the winter, I probably need to blow them out with some compressed air, so they cannot freeze. But the winters are not that cold anyway. I think I would be fine without. And the plastic can expand. Yeah, if you do any kind of cable work, it's really important to crimp the correct length of the cables and use the ferrules at the end. For some connectors you need them, for some you don't. But here I'm using the Firebird Pro again to put some rivets in there. And here there isn't enough space to get in, but you can take this part off. This stores all the accessories. Now you save some space. And there we go, perfect thread, and we can put the cap on. So there we go, it's already finished, and I think it looks much better in the garden. I got rid of the other granite thing, and the water pressure is really good. With the bigger diameter, that was totally worth it, because now I can reach all of the garden and not just a few meters around the pump. So this really puts out a lot of volume, and I'm really happy I made this, because what I had before, it kind of worked, but it wasn't, perfect. And this is just much more easy to use. I got a place to store the hose, more pressure. I can turn the lights on and off down here, and everything works. Thanks for watching, everybody. My name is Max Maker. I make all kinds of stuff, and I hope I inspired you to make something yourself today. See you later.